When looking at finances for the next generation, it is important to know the risks and plan around them. Here to talk more about this is Nicole Gopoin-Wyrick of Prosperity Wealth Strategies. Welcome, Nicole.
Hi, Mara. Thank you so much for having me today. It's great to see you.
Great to see you too. It's great to be here. So let's get started. So you recently wrote an article for Retirement Daily about this topic. So can you talk more about some of the risks and setbacks that can get in the way of financial planning?
Absolutely. So, part of prudent planning involves evaluating your probability of success based on safe spending and saving targets over your lifetime. And that's fantastic. And it's a really good start. But we can't stop there. We have to pause and say, what if? What could potentially derail that financial plan? And that's part of managing risks. So, risks are fluid and they change throughout our lifetime. So certain risks exist while we're in the accumulation phase of our lives, while we're still earning income. And those risks include that of a premature death or a disability. So where that type of planning strategy comes in is looking at what do I have in place to protect my stream of income while I'm still working. However, as we go through the life cycle and near retirement, those risks get smaller and smaller and eventually are likely eliminated as we do approach retirement because there's no stream of income to protect. So then when we examine risks, we have to shift our focus and look more at the risk of perhaps a long-term care event as we age. So our risks change as our life stage changes, and part of prudent planning is looking at those risks throughout the various stages of life.
Mm-hmm. So how can one reduce or diminish these risks?
There are a variety of different tools, but and those tools are different depending on what risk we're looking at. But so if we were looking at protecting a stream of income from employment, life insurance can be a great tool to do so. If we're looking at protecting a risk of disability, which would limit or eliminate our ability to work, disability insurance is a fine tool to do so. And then as we look to examining a long-term care event, there are different tools we have to mitigate that risk as well. Some clients are in a position to self-insure. Other clients choose to utilize insurance to mitigate that risk, and there's different types of insurance to do so. So regardless of which path is right for someone, it's still important to evaluate those risks and look at the different opportunities to mitigate them based on your unique situation.
Mm-hmm. So once you find a way to manage these risks, what are some ways that people can transition their wealth to their children or their grandchildren for that matter?
Yeah, that's a great question, Mare. So for many clients, step one is making sure their financial household is solid, their foundation is solid. Step two is to look at what risks could derail their financial independence, those things that we talked about, a premature death, a disability, a long-term care event. And then assuming that the individual is covered in all of those risks with a high probability of success of having enough resources to last their lifetime, the focus often then shifts to how do I successfully transition wealth to the next generation? How do I transfer wealth to my kids? And there's a variety of different ways to do that, ranging from very straightforward to very complex and complicated legal instruments that can be put in place. So for the focus of our chat here today, we'll focus on some of the more straightforward things that someone can do to transition wealth to the next generation.
Mm-hmm. So in your article, you also mentioned purchasing a long-term care policy where the parent pays for the insurance and then the adult child is insured underneath that. So can you talk a little bit more about that and the why behind that strategy?
Absolutely. So before we go there, let's just pause for a moment and back up a little bit. So an individual can gift up to $15,000 per year to any individual. So for a husband and wife, they could each gift their $15,000 for a total of $30,000 to one individual per year without incurring any gift taxes. So that's a straightforward and easy way to transition wealth to the next generation without incurring any gift taxes. But many folks want to give to their children on top of that amount. So assuming a married couple, husband and wife, on top of that $30,000 per year. So there are certain exclusions in the tax code. For example, the med ed exclusion is one. So in addition to giving $15,000 from husband and $15,000 per wife to a child, they would also be able to give tuition or qualified medical expenses directly to the institution that incurred the expense. So for example, if it was tuition, the tuition check would have to be paid directly to the hospital, and that would not be counted towards that $15,000 or $30,000 per year, depending on if it was a married couple or an individual. Same thing with the qualified medical expense, so long as the expense was paid directly to the hospital or the institution that incurred the cost. So that's another way to give additional assets to the next generation. Now, an interesting topic that you brought up was this idea of parents purchasing long-term care insurance and owning the policy and having their adult child as the insured. So as so many of our baby boomers are aging, adult parents are concerned about their adult children as they're aging and wanting to make sure they're covered for the risk of a long-term care event. If the parent owns the long-term care policy and pays the premiums on it, that would not qualify for the gift. So the parents could give an additional $15,000 or $30,000 per year without incurring any gift tax to their adult children, in addition to paying for the long-term care policy, which they are an owner of. At the parent's death, they could then name the child as the beneficiary of the policy, so it would transition to them, and it would be a way to make that gift to their child without having to pay any additional gift tax. So a creative and unique planning strategy for those parents who have adult children who are aging, and they want to be able to make sure that their care is paid for as later in life.
Mhm. All right. So is there anything else that you would like to add or to go over once more?
Just to make sure you talk to your CPA and your insurance agent to make sure that the policy qualifies and to make sure it's structured correctly. It's really important to make sure that the ownership is correct and the insured party is correct, so that the gift is in fact legitimate and you're not incurring any gift taxes.
Mhm. Well, it's been such a pleasure talking with you, Nicole. Thank you for your time and for your wonderful insights.
Thank you, Mayor. Hope to talk to you soon.